Hey, what's up, Ward Wrestling? We're back. Awesome show for you today. We've got Conor Beebe. He's been on here. I think he's got the record, him and Coach Tony. They've been on here the most times. Uh, but I mean, if you don't know, Beebe's been open since 2012, established up in Illinois. He established his brand of it down here in Florida in 2019. Since then, 32 state placers, 2 high school state runners up, 13 Florida state champions. Not to mention kids that go out to Fargo, 6 Fargo All-Americans, 3 Fargo National Championships, Cadet Worlds, 2 Junior World Medals. So we can go on to his career, which is a whole nother thing. Just go to his About page and you can see all the stuff he's accomplished. But for Florida, he's doing big things down here and we appreciate him. So what's up, Conor?
Not much,
Well,
just
you can
living the
see all
dream.
his state placers and champs right behind me there from this year. So they all train. So if you don't know, Conor Beebe has a private club down in St. Pete. He's also opened up another one in Tampa. A lot of those kids behind you have their high school programs and they love their high school programs dearly, but on the side, they go and get more work in as you need to do to get better. And he's become the private coach of many of those kids. And as you can see, it's working. So uh, Tampa's open, huh?
Yep, it's going, it's rolling. We're trying to get these kids in the door, and we're trying to get the Tampa high school coaches to see what we're doing and buy into what we're doing and see that we're an extension of what they're already doing. So that's the challenge, that's the battle. Trying to get people to see what we're doing and try to, buy in and build this thing together.
Man, it's awesome. I mean, I think the St. Pete location you're at now wasn't the first location. I believe you had a different location and then you kind of doing your contracting work that you used to do on the side. You kind of built out a nice place down there for yourself. Great facility, large, a lot of kids get down there. And mom and dad, it's not a bad weekend spot. I mean, you go to St. Pete for the weekend, hang out, the breweries, the pier, and you drop the kids off at BB and he'll make them better wrestlers. You've been growing down there. The opportunity came to grab Tampa. What, were you on the fence?
I've been bouncing the idea of moving into Tampa for a long time. I think the wrestling there is great. They have a great wrestling tradition. So tapping into that Tampa market's always been kind of a goal of mine and my wife's for a long time. So trying to explore it and see what Tampa has to offer. I know we've had a ton of Tampa kids that have traveled across the bridge who have come to us, so we're trying to make it a little bit easier and more accessible to them. So splitting my time and adding a few coaches to our staff, it can only help build the brand and build this family, which is ultimately what we're trying to do.
You
We're
haven't
trying to
tried
make.
to you haven't tried to convince Carson, like, hey buddy, it's nice down here.
Oh, I do it every
Uh,
day,
You like the
every
Bay
single
Area.
day.
I've
Yeah,
got a
every single
second
day.
spot.
It's like a game we play. He tries to convince me to come back home, and I try to convince him to come to Tampa. So
Yeah.
it's one of those things where he's like, "Well, you could be home. Well, you could be in the sunshine."
Now that I have a kid that's living in Illinois, going to school up there, yeah, it's nice to go up there. We're going to go up in June, and it's nice to go up to Chicago in that time, but in December, not so nice.
That's what everybody says. I mean, that it is true. There's no better place in the summertime than Chicago, but that's like 3 months out of the year, and then after that, there's no worse place to be.
That's awesome. So you've really built quite a following down here in Florida. I know a little bit, 5 years ago when we first talked, and then 4.5 years ago, and then 4 years ago, and then 3.5. Little by little, we've seen you grow. Um, and the kids that are coming out of that club, they speak highly and they're having a lot of success. Um, why? I mean, what's the magic?
It's creating the community. First of all, creating the community with the high school coaches that we have around us that are, like I said, I'm trying to get the Tampa coaches to buy in. We're starting to get the Pinellas area coaches to buy in, and they're great mentors themselves. And the ones that are buying in, they're pushing their athletes to come to us to get extra training, which is a beautiful thing. like I said, I want to be an extension of what they're already doing. And then also just the parent support that we have is unbelievable. Any time that I need something or would like something for athletes, we just got a 6-person sauna that we're putting in. I just got it yesterday, so I have another parent who came literally yesterday who's doing the electric, running the electric and all this. So, I mean, just the parent support, anytime you need anything, they're literally jumping up to help and try to build this thing just as much as we are, and adding on to our coaching staff. And then as far as the wrestling part, just making it fun, right? Making it fun. Nobody wants to be in a wrestling room where they don't enjoy it, right? Nobody wants to do anything that they don't enjoy. So trying to make it, yeah, we make it hard and they work hard, but we get our athletes to invest, right? Um, Enjoying what you do makes it a little bit easier to invest in trying to get as good as you possibly can. So I think that's the key. You get them to love it at a young age, and you get them obsessed once they get into high school.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I really liked, and I tell people when they ask me about coaches, where should I take my kids for privates? And you're always on the list. And obviously if they live in Alaska, they can't put you on the list. But
I mean, they can.
I can put you on the list. You can get up there. But the one thing I really liked is, obviously the last year that my son was in high school, the last 2 years, we came down to you. But I remember the first time we came down to see you to do privates. I really liked that you said, "Hey, listen, we're going to wrestle. I've never wrestled with you before. I've never seen you wrestle, maybe from afar at a tournament or something, but I've never really close up." And you told him, we're going to wrestle for about 20 minutes first. Just we're going to just spar, I guess, for lack of better terms, right? And
Hmm.
and you wrestled with him. And then when you were done, you said, "Okay, this is what I noticed about your wrestling. This is what you're good at. This is what you're not good at. This is what we need help with." And you said, "I don't want to change who you are. I want to see your style and build on that style." So I liked that you weren't trying to take the kid and just kind of take everything he's learned and throw it out the window and say, all that is shit, right? You said, "Okay, I see you like to do singles, or I see you like to do this. Let's grow on that. Let's work on that. You need to be better on this." And I thought that was great. I'd imagine you do that with all kids the first time you see them.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I like you said, I don't try to change who they are. Every wrestler wrestles a little bit different. So trying to add on to what I think might benefit them. That's how I am with all my athletes. All my athletes are a little bit different. They all should, have the same a certain style that looks very similar, but um, certain movements that are a little bit different. So just trying to elevate them in what they're good at, and try to also address those things that they need help on. We shouldn't be scared to put ourselves in situations that we're not good at, right? That's how we continue to grow, and that's how we learn. So, but yeah, in our room we do a ton of sparring. Everybody knows that. It's well known that we're an academy that wrestles freely, and we like to be creative, and we like to score points. Sorry, my dog's snoring in the background. So
my dog's right next to me, and I can hear him dreaming because he goes, "Ooh, ooh."
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I got two snorers that are right
Yeah.
in the background.
That's all. I mean, and I'm learning a little bit about that term spar in wrestling because I never heard that on the high school level. But
Mhm.
now that I have a son in college, and we were talking about that earlier with Preeson and Norton and Cook and Zayman and all those guys. They do a thing where they call it they spar, right? And they stick to one thing for a while, and then they go to the next thing for a while, and they try to develop. And it's been pretty cool to kind of learn what happens at the next level. But you know, right now the big conversation in our state, and we're growing it, and you've always been a part of Team Florida, at least the years I've been on there, and I'm sure you'll be back this year, hopefully, fingers crossed. Um,
Mhm.
how important is it to get all these kids involved in the freestyle and Greco? And I know I see your post, I see your camps, I see what you're doing. Uh, Do you involve freestyle from day one with them? Do you wait till the folk season's over? Do you incorporate it with their folk style? Because I've talked to coaches. I had Zach Sherman and Dante Giovanetta. I don't want to mess up it. I was going to say his name wrong. And they said immediately they'll work on Greco to teach the kids how to use their hips properly and how to move their upper body and then with the freestyle with the tight waist, you can't lock your hands in folk style. So if we teach them how to get out of that when the hands are locked, how much better will they be at folk style? Is that all the same mentality?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that freestyle can teach you about folk style that folk style has a hard time teaching, right? Mat control. If you go out of bounds in freestyle, there's more dire implications, right? You give up points. So it teaches you how to control the center of the mat. Controlled scrambling, right? You want to become good at scrambling. Well, try to learn how to scramble in freestyle because again, more dire implications where if I expose my back, I'm giving up points. Um, Learning how to turn someone, right? I tell people this all the time. I learn legs in freestyle, right? And if I get my left leg in on you, you're in for a very, very long day. And I'm probably taking all your limbs home with me. But that's something that I learned in freestyle where you don't have someone who's trying to escape from you, right? They're just trying not to get turned. So it's a little bit easier to implement how to turn someone. The basics on how to turn someone with a gut is pretty much the basics of most, I'd say 90% of turns in general, right? I got to try to get your hips off the mat and try to break your shoulder position, right? That's how I expose your back. Now think of 90% of the turns, whether it's a tilt, a wing, a half, whatever it is in folk style, it's pretty much the same concept. So teaches you how to break the plane on top. It also teaches you how to defend on bottom, right? You're defending pressure. You're trying to figure out how to defend pressure. You're figuring out how getting your head off that center line on bottom is going to help distribute your weight a little bit to defend guts and chops and all that stuff. So whenever I'm doing freestyle and freestyle movements, I typically like to incorporate how this is going to translate into your folk style wrestling or Greco, same thing, right? So, and the biggest thing is it gives your athletes a break away from the grind of folk style season while still learning how to wrestle, right? Freestyle is a little bit more free. You score a little bit more points, and you're not in the grind. If you just do folk style wrestling for the whole season, I promise you, you're probably going to get burnt out, right? This gives you a little bit of a break from that, and it teaches your athletes how to wrestle and compete freely, right? Um, and the last thing I'll say is with freestyle and Greco is we're not shy about what we're trying to do at BB Trained. We're trying to give our athletes an opportunity to use wrestling to get an education at the next level, right? If you want to do that, you better be wrestling freestyle because that's when the college coaches are walking around at these tournaments, right? At Fargo, you have just about every coach in the nation in the stands. And if they're not in the stands, it's probably not a school you want to go to anyway. So
Any level. I mean, you see everybody from Life U at NAIA to all the way to like North Central at D3. You see Nebraska Kearney at D2. You see the Iowa's, Ohio States. I mean, every level is there, and we spoke about that a little bit yesterday when I had Mason on.
yeah, absolutely. Every level's there and they're willing and they're they they're walking around the tournament and stopping at mats when they see something that they like. And that's where a lot of the recruiting happens, or at least these athletes getting noticed, right? At these national tournaments, at these um, regional tournaments. And it's just overall, if you're not doing it, you're going to be stuck. You're going to be stuck at the wayside. And this argument that a lot of these coaches have, well, as soon as they start wrestling it at the NCAA level, then we'll start doing it. That's I could beat that argument with one statement, and that is name me 3 Division I All-Americans from this year that didn't wrestle freestyle. I guarantee you can't. And I guarantee you that you'd be hard pressed to name 4 or 5 national qualifiers at the Division I level that didn't wrestle freestyle or Greco, right? So right there, your argument is going to be squashed when you say, well, as soon as they start wrestling freestyle and Greco at the next level, or at the next level, then that's when we're going to start doing it. I
And
just literally squashed that.
something that I hear too, and I don't obviously, I've learned a lot of wrestling since the first time we talked, right? I can see stuff now. I can look at stuff. I understand the sport now. From at least this much more. But when I speak to people about freestyle Greco, the one thing that sometimes they say is maybe it's not taught in a room because maybe the coach doesn't know it, or maybe the coach is afraid to teach it, or maybe the coach knows it, but only a little bit. Is it something that, and I don't know if it's ever been brought up between you and Team Florida and the staff. I know you guys have started doing this Team Florida, where you're going around the state now, and we're doing little clinics, and we've got these little tournaments now, which is awesome. Have we thought about a freestyle Greco coaches clinic?
I've done coaches clinics in the past. I've brought Mason in. I've brought Travis Patrick in. I've brought Verona in. I've brought Soto in. I've brought a lot of high level coaches in. I would love to do a freestyle based one if we could get the commitment from the coaches. Coaching is about constant growth, right? It's just like when you're trying to elevate your athletes, right? You expect them to constantly be growing. If you're not constantly growing, how can you expect your athletes to do the same thing? So if you're novice at freestyle and you're novice at Greco, that's great. Go grow, right? Go seek out how to grow in this sport, just like you did when you first got into coaching, right? I'm sure I know when I first got into coaching, I wasn't a great coach right away, right? It took some time to grow, and it took some time to be around the right type of mentors and study the game and study how to translate the wrestling and trick your athletes into doing what you want them to do. So it's the same thing with freestyle and Greco. If you're a novice at it and you're a coach and you want to make an impact on these kids, grow as a coach and go seek opportunities on how to become a better freestyler. I mean, there's nothing that says that you can't go to these clinics too and watch these really good clinicians. I know this weekend they've got a clinic at Mariner where Zach Esposito is going to be there, right? There's nothing that tells you that you can't go to these clinics and sit down and be a fly on the wall and learn, as your athletes, bring your athletes, right? And you can learn too. I tell high school coaches all the time, and I wish more would take advantage of this, that you're welcome in my room, right? You're welcome in my room. You want to throw shoes on, roll with the kids. All I ask is you coach everybody in the room, not just your athletes. And then if you don't want to throw your shoes on, take notes, freaking video, right? Take your phone out and video, steal everything that I'm doing, right?
And I've talked
I
to
don't have
coaches before.
secrets.
Yeah, and I've talked to coaches before that do that. Like I'll talk to somebody, they'll go up to a Rumble, or they'll come out to one of your things, or they'll go out to a different place, and they'll bring a group of kids there, but they'll sit in the stands and they'll watch, and they tell me that because I'm getting an opportunity to see high level coaches coach, and if I can take one thing from that, I'm 1% better, right? And I think it's the same, like, I ran sales departments for 20 years, right? And every time I tell salespeople, hey, you got to go to training. Oh, again, it's going to be the same. Oh, again, right? And I'd be like, yeah, but sure, the core of every coach whatever they're teaching wrestling or in sales in the case, yeah, 90% of every person that does a sales seminar, 90% of it is the same thing. There's only so much you can know, right? But each
Hmm.
one has their niche, right? And that's
Yeah.
that 10%. So if you can go back and say, wow, I learned one thing today, you're better. Same thing with maybe you go watch a BB train clinic and maybe 98% of what he does you already knew. But that 2%, you're like, wow, that leg riding thing he did was really interesting. Man, that was cool. And now I incorporate that. And that's one thing now that I got away. If you did that twice a month during the off season, you might take away 6 new things, 8 new things to incorporate. Because everybody knows, right, what a double leg is, a single leg is, an underhook is, a top, bottom. But some guys have little tricks, like you watch Scotty Sentes do his series, man. That thing is incredible, right?
Hmm.
And you,
Absolutely. I mean, it's the difference between having the growth mindset and the fixed mindset, right? It's the fixed mindset is I'm not going to learn anything new, right? And I'm as good as I'm going to be right now. I'm the finished product right now, as opposed to that growth mindset where I can always find a way to get better, right? I can always find a way to surround myself with people that are going to make me better or seek out opportunities that are going to make me better. So it's what type of athlete do you want slash what type of coach are you? Are you the coach that's stuck in this fixed mindset, or are you the coach that's in the growth mindset? And what do you expect of your athletes? Do you expect your athletes to walk in the door and say, well, I'm just not good at this, and be sold on the fact that you're not good at it? Or do you want to inspire your athletes that, those athletes that can't walk and chew gum and are tripping over their feet when they're jogging? Can you inspire that athlete to become something great? Right. So it's, it's one of those things when it comes to my coaching or any of the great coaches that I see, it's they have the same mindset as they expect of their athletes. I'm going to keep growing as a coach, and I'm going to keep journaling and figuring out what's working and what's not working. And I'm going to keep tailoring my practices to that. My practices, when we first started in Florida, look night and day compared to what my practices are now, right? We're always tweaking things. I'm always experimenting with things that sometimes don't work, right? So if it's not working, I throw it away and we try to tweak it to make it better or get rid of it. And there's things that I'm always trying to play with my athletes to try to make, try to make a difference, and try to make small tiny tweaks and small adjustments.
yeah, it's awesome. And I know you've got some camps and clinics coming up. You've got your BB Train camp June 4th through 7th. And so if anybody goes out there, go onto the bbtrain.com website. He's got his camps, clinics there. He's got all his about information, but everything's available on social media, and do that. It is the 4th through the 7th. So if, listen, it's limited to 40 athletes, and we get it. It seems like every single camp in the state of Florida is the first week of June this year. So
Yeah.
nobody out there has an excuse on a place they can go to get better, right? I mean, so
Yeah.
you've got one on the West Coast with BB, you've got one on the East Coast at Osceola, you got one down south with Lou. So there's plenty of places to get better, and go down there, see him get better, especially now. I believe you're probably focusing for Team Florida and focusing on freestyle season, Greco season. That doesn't mean if you're a folk style wrestler and you don't like the other stuff that he's not going to coach you to. Come in, tell him, and he may try to convince you to like it, but that's a whole other thing. So that's cool. Camps are happening all the time. I always see you posting and you tag me so I can share it. But how do you want to talk about the camps, or do you want me to tell them about other stuff?
Well, I mean, it's wherever you want to take this. Camps
Yeah.
are, yeah, you don't have to come to my camp to experience a great camp. You can come to my camp. You're gonna have fun. We're gonna do what we do. I mean, the reason why Florida wrestling is getting so good is because you have so many dang opportunities to get in front of high level clinicians, high level coaches, and high level coaches are now being drawn to Florida. So you have the coaching all over the state, and that's the reason why the state is growing so fast. But yeah, these camps, these clinics, they're great opportunities to get extra looks and a lot of times what happens is as far as coaching, your athlete might go to a camp and clinic and be shown the same thing that you've been showing for, showing them for 3 years, but it clicks with another coach just because of the wording or the explanation or just the way they explain it. And you have this all the time where they come back and like, hey coach, look what I've learned. And like, I've been showing you that for 3 years. Right. But that's what happens when you go and see other coaches, and it's almost a lot of times it validates what you're doing, right? So get them in front of these coaches. I encourage my athletes to go and go to these camps and clinics and get other eyes on them and other voices and maybe that coach can clean something up that they see in the athletes that I don't see. Or they come back and they're like, hey coach, look at what I learned. And it's like, all right, now let me learn this too. Let's go.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about constant growth, right? Life is about constant growth. If you're not growing constantly, then it becomes boring.
Yeah, and you see it, I saw, I was like, damn, it's like the first week of June, camp week, is that how it works? I was like, everybody's sharing something, and I'm like, why did they all pick that week? But then I look
I
at the
think it's
schedule.
because we're leading up into the Fargo.
Yeah, yeah, and I look at the schedule and I see that all these kids are getting into Fargo and then they're getting into these big camps, and it's like we got to get them prepared. So it's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and some kids can't make it down south. They live in your area. Some people can't make it up north. They to well trained. They can live in your area. They can't make it over to Osceola. So to have pockets of these camps in every part of our state is awesome, including yours. Um, you've been involved with Team Florida now. We spoke about that, and I was talking to Mason yesterday, and I try to get the word out ever since I got involved, being able to go out there and photograph and do media with you guys. I've gotten the
How about the job that he's doing, huh? He's crushing
un,
it.
unbelievable what he's doing. It's been
I
great.
wouldn't want his job.
No, I don't know that he's like, I like that I'm doing it, but it's tough, right? And
I know that I've annoyed him a little bit
oh
with
yeah, I think
texting
everybody
my
does,
phone
but he
calls.
welcomes it because he wants the state to be better, right?
Yeah.
And I think man, it's unbelievable. Yeah, we were talking yesterday, even before we jumped on, and it's insane. But the growth of Team Florida has been great. And I said I've gotten a chance to be out there with you guys, and you guys work your ass off. And we always hear the thing. There's always the people that are anti-Team Florida and pro-Team Florida and all the other shit that we hear, right? And maybe years ago there was issues, and that's still in people's memories. But the transition that's been happening over the last 5 years, 6 years, 10, whatever, the last few years has been amazing. And we've seen the growth. How important is it to two things, to be a coach and get out there and actually see this and experience it with these kids? And also, you were with Team Illinois, with Team Florida, you grew up in both areas, done it with both things. How important do you tell kids to do it? I said something to Mason yesterday. I said, the kids that think, oh man, I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to go out there and get beat, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not this and that. Go do it still, right? Go do it still, because the experience you get out there is incredible.
I just lost you. I'm trying to get you back on the screen. I don't know how to do
Oh,
this.
do you have
Um,
an Apple?
yeah, I mean,
You might
can
have
you see me
double,
right now?
I can see you, but you might have
All
double
right,
tapped
perfect.
the screen.
That doesn't matter. Okay, yeah. I think it's extremely important to go out there and coach, to get to know the state of Florida and see the direction that just not just our wrestling academy is taking these kids in, but um everybody, all these great coaches as a whole, and kind of meeting these coaches and seeing the impact that they're making, and it's a, an opportunity to bounce ideas off of each other. Like I said, I'm always constantly trying to grow as a coach. Um, Same as hopefully all these other coaches are, right? We're trying to balance ideas of what's working, what's not working, how to get more organized, how to get more participation, and things like that. So Um, it's extremely important, right? If you have an opportunity to get on one of these coaching staffs, I suggest you try hard to do it, because you're going to learn just as much as the athletes are, if not more than the athletes. So, yeah, it's one of those things where we all can grow, and we should grow together.
All right, take your three fingers and slide up on the track bar.
Okay.
And
I
you
mean, I'm on this,
should see a
it's
box
on this
come up
Zoom, but it's
over.
not,
If you
it's
slide
on
your
the
three
Zoom.
fingers
I
up on
got
the
it.
mat, see it?
I got it. We're good.
I
Technology. I can coach
well,
wrestling.
when I
That's
first
it.
got this new Apple, it happened to me. I was like, oh shit, where did everything left me? Where did it go? And I'm like, how do I
Well,
do
I had a voicemail, and it
fighting?
took it from the screen.
Yeah, and the kids too. I mean, I the one example I always use is Vergara. Remember 2 years ago when he was the athlete, not last year when he was the coach, and he showed up and he was committed to a lower division school, which is fine if you can
Hmm.
go there. But he
You're a
ended up
bad dude no matter what division you
yeah,
go to.
but he ended up having this really nice run, and he All-Americaned, and now he's at UTC Wrestling Division One, and that only happened for one reason. He showed up at Fargo and wrestled, right?
Yep, for sure. I mean, like I said, you get noticed, right? You get noticed, and one thing that I always express to my athletes is put yourself in, and parents, put your athletes and yourself in as many what I call ignition events as possible, right? Ignition events are any event that's going to inspire you. It could be a quote that you heard, it could be a performance, it could be um anything that's going to inspire you to be better. And the Fargo tournament is definitely one of those events where it's going to be ignition events all over the place. The ignition events are happening on every single mat, right? You're seeing these amazing performances. You're seeing how these coaches are acting in the corners, and you see what to do right, what to do wrong sometimes. Um, and you're just seeing just wrestling at its finest at the Fargo National Tournament, with the competition, with the coaching, with the interactions, and just in general.
I mean, the people you see there even coaching. I mean, you'll see Ben Askren, you'll see Daniel Cormier, you'll see
The
any of
who's
these
who
guys
of wrestling.
sitting in the corners wrestling, but they're coaching. They're not Daniel Cormier and Ben Askren at the time. They're team whatever, and they're coaching their kids to have to make a run, and they're doing their passion, and it's pretty awesome to get to see all that. You see Jordan Burroughs walking around, like guys like that. It's just insane, and the experience is fun, not just the wrestling. I mean, you go and you wrestle, that experience is fun, but you see the kids they're trading, I say jerseys, they're trading singlets and they're trading shoes, and they have the black market in the back, and you see all the kids out there having a great time, and all of a sudden you make lifelong friendships with a kid from Wisconsin or California or Pennsylvania or Illinois, and now you're working with that kid in the off season, and
Hmm.
my son made relationships and got to stay in touch with so many people, and it was fun. And for me to see the coaches put in the work that they do out there, I don't think people understand how long and grueling and hard it is. And
How many miles they put in?
oh man, and listen, the easy part is, yeah, when they're all inside the Fargo Dome, but how about when they've got to keep your kids outside the Fargo Dome, and they've got to have them check in, and they've got to make sure they're fed, and they got to make sure they're in the hotel room, and they got to make sure they're safe, and they got to make, there's so much
The
more than
weight's on point, and they
yeah.
have the room to get the weight off, and they have the coaching to get the weight off, and they have the transportation, and
Yeah. So
yeah, it's a full time 9 days. I believe it's 9 days, but
so
yeah,
you
it's
should have a lot of BB trained kids out there this year, huh?
that's the goal. Yeah, that's the goal. We're trying to make some noise. We're growing every year, right? So the goal is to put more athletes on the team every year than the previous year, and get more athletes on the podium. We're always trying to grow, and we're always, like I said, I'm trying to get my athletes into as many ignition events as possible to maybe spark something to inspire them to be great.
It's awesome. You should get, remember the movie Bebe's Kids? You should get
No,
that. Oh, you should look it up and watch it. It's really funny, but it's Bebe's Kids, and you should get the graphic and you should change it into your like kids that you have and put them cartoon and put BB's kids.
there you go.
It would be
There
pretty
you go.
funny.
There's an idea.
It would be pretty
I
funny.
get I get shirt ideas from my parents all the time. One of them is putting like wrestling nerd because I always say I'm a wrestling nerd. So
Yeah.
BB train on the front and wrestling nerd on the back.
Yeah. That's funny.
So
All right. Well, if you're in St. Pete, go see BB and go to La Casita Taqueria also. You get some good tacos.
there's a lot of good spots around here.
Oh man, the food down there, the beer. Go down, have a good time. What's your favorite spot?
Um, I don't know. There's a lot.
He's gonna
There's a
say
lot of
St.
great
Pete
spots.
Brewing Company just because it's my family, but
We did go there and
yeah,
had a show that one time, and that
they're
was
doing
great. A
sours
lot of
now
fun.
too, so we got to go back.
Yeah, I'm in.
I
I'm in. I'm
think
definitely
you were
in.
away. I think the last time I went down there, I messaged you and you had a tournament or something you were at.
I've been busy. I've been doing camps all over the state and tournaments, and I love traveling the state and going and running camps and clinics. So I've been busy all over the state.
Nice. Well, I always appreciate you coming on and talking BB trained and, get out to one of his camps. If you need private lessons, um, he's one of the best at one-on-ones that I've experienced in the state. And, my personal child has worked with a lot of people and I've talked to other people that have worked with him and one-on-one, you could argue he's the best. And, get out there and see him. Look, it works for kids. Give them an opportunity. If you don't like it, don't go back to them. Right? It's simple.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. It's
If
like
you
any product. Any
like any
product, if you don't
product,
like it,
right?
you're probably not going to buy it.
Yeah, yeah. So go check him out. And I'm sure if you want to do a pop in, I'm sure he'd let you do that and come see what he does and how he runs his practices. And, I think you'll be impressed or you won't. So it's pretty easy. So go and check it out. But and stop by the brewery and have some beer and go get some tacos and hang out over at that brand new pier down there in St. Pete. It's
Pier is
absolutely
beautiful.
awesome. They got a great bar up at the top. My fat ass had to walk all those steps, so it was like, but when I got to the top, I got a nice cold drink and some good food, and you're overseeing the whole Gulf
See the
there,
dolphins and
jumping around, man. It's super cool.
mhm.
I'm sure you and your wife get out there, I'd imagine.
Yep. Speaking of which, big shout out to my wife. She's one of the big reasons why this thing runs the way it does. And I think I failed to mention her in that when we were talking about why BB trained. She's one of the big reasons she's steered this thing in the right way the last few years. Ever since I met her, we've been growing like crazy. So there's one common theme behind the
Yeah.
growth, and
And
it's her.
supporting you to open up the second location. I mean, opening up a business is scary, right? And
Yeah, it is for sure.
getting the opportunity to get into a second location, and I'm sure we'll see that location flourish too. So good luck with all that. Hopefully I'll be in Tampa this weekend for a wedding, so I don't
Stop
know.
by.
Are you gonna be at the BB Train Tampa or BB Train St. Pete?
Sunday is in Pinellas, in our Pinellas location.
Cool. I think Sunday we're gonna go to, in Tampa, there's like this food hall. It's really cool. It's like a big park.
Oh yeah. We go the Armature Works.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's me and my wife go there often. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, we went, my sister-in-law took us for the first time, I don't know, a month ago, and it was really, really cool. They've got all you can have a beer, you can sit outside, you can get sushi, you can get Greek food. If you're a health nut, they got salad. If you're a
Yep.
fatty like me, they got hamburgers. You can get whatever you want there. It's a good time. All right, man. Well, you take it easy. I hope to see you soon. Well, I'll see you next week for sure at Spartan Nationals.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yep.
because you've got some dual teams, right?
I got two teams going, so yeah, we're gonna go compete hard and have
Yeah,
a lot
I've
of fun.
got two teams going too. So this will be awesome. We'll see. Hopefully they're all in the same color, right? The blue. Uh,
Yep.
so it'll be cool. So we'll have a good time. I got a girls team too, so that should be fun.
Nice. Very
I don't know,
cool.
I just felt like why not?
Go out and give opportunities.
yeah, now I can take pictures of kids actually wrestling for the ward team. So it'd be pretty cool.
There you go.
Shout out to those coaches who are involved with me. Thank you so much for helping me with that. You know, Coach Walker, Coach Palmacita. It's awesome.
That is awesome. I told you we have great representation in Florida, and they're all
I'll have to
it's
do a
a tight
BB
knit
ward.
community.
I'll have to do a BB ward team one year.
There you go.
All right. See you, brother.
All right.